Systems theory itself was born, as cybernetics was at the same time, as a way of governing complex systems. It was essentially a physical engineering kind of a discipline. A great step forward was the work of Ludwig von Bertalanffy and Paul Weiss and a few others who have applied it to living systems, to biological systems. So systems theory became a theory of how biological systems are connected to each other, how they evolve. What we need to enter into this concept is the whole notion of consciousness, of mind.
The understandings of great physicists of our times and experts of systems theory, such as von Bertalanffy and Ervin Laszlo, allows us to formulate a unitary system theory capable of including consciousness.
A system, according to Bertalanffy, is a combination of elements related to each other, which exchange energy and information. Simple systems evolve into ever more complex and organized systems. When the network of relations exceeds a certain level of complexity, a quantum leap takes place and a unitary system is created, a unified field of coherent and formed energy, which we call a living entity. From the cybernetic point of view, the unitary system is a cyber, from the Greek word kubernetes, the governor, a unit in which, in an organic and global way, consciousness governs all the information and energy of the system itself. The four unitary systems, the cybers, which constitute our whole reality, are particles, atoms, cells, and multicellular beings.
Systems are psychophysical, you could say. They have an aspect, an element of physical, and an element of consciousness.
The table of unitary systems shows us that if we reunite scientific models which highlight energy and matter to their cognitive models which highlight information and the cybernetic dimensions of consciousness, we obtain holistic models, unitary systems.
Our scientific cybernetic definition of consciousness is the system capacity to perceive the sense of an information and to respond to it. The human being is a unitary system. Thanks to their consciousness, living beings are capable of perceiving the sense of information coming from outside their system, such as lights, colors, and sounds. They can perceive information coming from inside the system, such as physiological sensations, information coming from emotions, feelings, and information coming from thoughts, memories, and cognitive processes. Consciousness unites all informations from outside and inside and creates a unity of consciousness, what psychologists call the self, the sense of global identity. This sensation of unity allows us to live as individuals and also feel part of the greater existence in which we live.
I am an immense planetary consciousness, a whole. Our ancestors could perceive my sacred nature. They called me Gaia, the Mother Goddess Earth. And I am a mother who is not separate from her children. We are one. You are part of me. Inseparable and fundamental elements of an extraordinary living system. So remember that the awareness you perceive in the eyes of every living creature, from the simplest to the most evolved, is always an expression of my consciousness.
James Lovelock is a member of the Royal Society and an expert in cybernetics and gas chromatography with the NASA. In 1979, he published the book Gaia, A New Look at Life on Earth, in which he introduced the Gaia hypothesis, a vision of the planet as a unitary system, a living and conscious being made up of networks of living organisms, from bacteria to forests, and gifted with its own intelligence and capacity for self-regulation and evolution. Today, the Gaia hypothesis has been recognized in its importance and has been confirmed by numerous scientific findings.
Consciousness is just as basic. Now we understand that these elements probably are part of all things, from particles all the way to galaxies and to the universe as a whole.
Unitary systems evolve into ever more complex, specialized, and organized collective systems until they form unitary systems of higher orders. The extraordinary thing about unitary systems is that the unity of global consciousness becomes more stable and more important than its single parts. Our bodies change all their cells in a few years, while our identity remains the same. This allows us to understand scientifically one of the most fundamental principles of holism, that the unit is more important than the sum of its parts.
Life did not take possession of this planet with a fight, but by networking and cooperation. And in order to really understand how nature sustains life, we have to understand these ecological principles, which are, in fact, nothing but the principles of all living systems.
All living organisms have the same structure. They are made of modules, and the modules are connected to each other. The same laws which apply to cells apply to the biosphere.
From the Big Bang, particles evolve in complexity until, through an evolutionary leap, they gave rise to the first atom. The atoms grow in complexity, they reunite with synergy into more articulated and organized networks and structures, and through another evolutionary leap, the first cells originate. The cells organize themselves, forming ever more complex, specialized, and collaborative systems, which will bring about co-evolutionary leaps towards multicellular units. Multicellular aggregates evolve in complexity and consciousness to human beings, who have generated local and national systems of organization which now embrace the whole planet. But the birth of a planetary civilization as a unitary system requires man to become the conscious hero of this global evolutionary leap.
Systems theory is, in its latest development, is a holistic discipline for a new paradigm.